group within the AT&T family that I'd rather start this dialogue with than you, the AT&T ERGs, because I'm convinced that what we have done is created something very special here. We've created what is a model for America. You're a model for how you can take a really large body of people with radically different backgrounds, beliefs, ages, religions, sexual orientations, and we're demonstrating how you can not only live together, but you can love each other, you can compete, and you can win together.
Yes.
But sadly, racial tension is ripping apart the very fabric of our communities right now. And it's troubling to watch what's happening today in Charlotte, what's happened in Ferguson, Missouri, the killing of black men in Falcon Heights, Minnesota, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the murder of 5 police officers in Dallas, the murder of police officers in Baton Rouge, the mass killings in Orlando. I could go on, but folks, you get the idea. We got a problem.
Yes, we do have a problem.
Now, there are some that are here tonight that the mentality and the thought process would be the police need to crack down and get control of these communities. There are also some who are expressing some legitimate pent-up anger over injustice and violence and say we have to deal with that first. And there's going to be several people in between those two ends. The question I have to ask is, where are you on this? I suspect that if we took a secret ballot poll, we might be surprised at the outcome of that poll. One of my closest friends in the world is an African American. His name's Chris. And Chris is a cardiopulmonary critical care doctor. He's served our country on 3 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. And Chris is one of the most thoughtful, caring, and intelligent human beings that I know. His wife is my wife's best friend. Our kids are really close friends. And after the events in Dallas and Baton Rouge, the pastor of Chris's church asked him if he'd come lead a discussion with their nearly all-white congregation about these events. And his comments were captured on video, and somebody sent the video to me. And when I watched the video, I have to confess that I was stunned by what he said. He gave me permission tonight to share some of what he said with you. And he said the following. He said, I was the first black boy with his 2 sisters to integrate elementary schools in southern Louisiana. I remember being afraid as bricks were hurled at our home and I saw my father fire his shotgun to scare away angry invaders. I was told not to associate with Southern Baptists because in my hometown, the deacon board were all members of the KKK. I've heard more epithets than I can ever describe. I've been called names I would not repeat in mixed company. I have been refused service, followed in stores, asked to serve people in restaurants while I was dining, pulled over in routine traffic stops, and been called boy more times than I care to remember. When I run in the neighborhood to stay healthy, I always make sure I have my driver's license so I can show the police that I actually live in my neighborhood. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When I watched this video, I was really ashamed that this was all new information to me about Chris. This man lost his teenage son last year to a very tragic disease, and Chris and I have gotten on our knees and prayed to God to save his son together. He stayed in my home many times, and I've stayed with his family many times. I've spent hours with him and his son in the hospital. And I just wonder how I could conceivably not know this about this guy. How could I not understand the very core that formed his worldview about race? I wonder how two very close friends, one black and one white, could never have discussed the matter of race. And then I thought, if two very close friends of different races don't talk openly about this issue that's tearing our communities apart, how do we expect to find common ground and solutions for what's a really serious, serious problem? I have another friend who told me a story. It was about a man visiting a little town called Shady Lake. It's a beautiful town. It's tucked against a very nice flowing river. And as the man walked through this town as a visitor, he began to notice that many of the people were missing arms and missing legs. He stopped at a nice restaurant on the river and sat down to order, and the waiter came up to him and he asked the waiter, "What's going on? Why are so many people maimed and wounded?" And the waiter said in a whisper, he said, "In that river is a huge alligator. And regularly that alligator comes out of the river and attacks our residents." And the man said, "This is crazy. Why don't you do something about it?" And the waiter said, "It's considered impolite to discuss this in public." We're living in Shady Lake, folks. And our communities are being destroyed by racial tension. And we're too polite to talk about it. Even among our best friends. We don't even talk about it among our best friends, and it's a difficult, tough issue. It's not pleasant to discuss. It takes work, it takes time, it takes emotion. And you're going to have to understand where the other one is coming from. But we have to start communicating. And if this is a dialogue that's going to begin at AT&T, I feel like it probably ought to start with me. Because candidly, I have always been somewhat confused by some of Chris's views. And now I got to tell you, I get his anger when somebody responds to a Black Lives protest by saying, "All lives matter." I honestly, I have to admit that Chris is a bigger man than me, because if I were in his shoes, I would be a bitter and angry man, and Chris is not.
Yes.
And I would tell you, my confusion now with his views has been replaced by a really healthy dose of humility. Chris went on to paraphrase something, and I want you to hear this. He said, "When a parent says, 'I love my son,' you don't say, 'What about your daughter?' When we run or walk for breast cancer funding and research, we don't say, 'What about prostate cancer?' When the president says, 'God bless America,' we don't say, 'Shouldn't God bless all countries?' And when a person struggling with what's been broadcast on our airwaves says, 'Black Lives Matter,' we should not say 'All Lives Matter' to justify ignoring the real. Let's talk about race. When we talk about race, let's begin the discussion with why. Why does my colleague feel this way? If we can understand why, it's so much more likely that we can begin to agree on what needs to be done. You guys, the AT&T ERGs, you are a model for America. Look around. Look around, folks. It does not get any more diverse than this. you to hear something, and this is really important, and I want to finish with this, but I'm not asking you to be tolerant of each other. Tolerance is for cowards. Being tolerant requires nothing from you but to be quiet and to not make waves, holding tightly to your views and judgments without being challenged. Do not tolerate each other. Work hard, move into uncomfortable territory, and understand each other. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you. I really do. I love this organization. I love you people. And I really appreciate your patience listening to me tonight. And I encourage you, please, let's go out and understand each other, okay? Thank you so much.